Good morning, Vital Men. It's good to be with you on your Monday, the beginning of your work week. As you can tell by my attire, I have switched locations of being with my son in sunny Florida of last week, and it was without a doubt a pleasure to sit alongside with him and talk about legacy. You know, we get these opportunities as we go from one year to the next year, going from 2021 to 2022. In my mind, it always gives me an opportunity to reflect. And today I want to talk to you about this. How are you going to finish? And what I mean by that is we all, no matter what age level you are, in the back of your mind as men, we always want to make sure that we finish life well. Well, I want to talk to you about a guy who really did a great job at that, and that was Moses. And it says this in Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 7. It says this: Moses was 120 years old when he died, yet his eyesight was clear and he was strong as ever. You know, Moses without a doubt finished well, but without hardships along the way as he lived in his life the first 40 years as he was under Pharaoh, is actually a prince, and he had things going really, really well, but he saw his people under great bondage and had a call on his life. And then he does one thing after another, one mistake, from killing an Egyptian to hiding him and then fleeing. Then for 40 years he's hanging out in the midst of raising sheep, and God is doing great things in his life, preparing him to be the leader that he would become when he's 80 years old, to take Israel away from Egypt into the promised land. But see, Moses, without a doubt, along the way, from all of his 120 years of life, had tough times along the way, but yet he stayed the course and wanted to finish well. And as we look in Scripture and we see those things, and we see the promises that were made, and it says this in Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 1. It says, he went up Mount Nebo from the plains of Moab and climbed Pisgah Peak, which is across Jericho. And the reason why he did that is because God had him climb, and that was the place that he was going to die. That is the place in which he was going to finish. And yet his eyesight was clear as a young man, and he climbed like he was young again to his death. God knew he was going to die on the Mount Pisgah. But God wanted to give him a glimpse, wanted to give him a view of the land. And why does he do that? I got two things for you this morning. The first one is this: that the Lord wanted to show Moses the whole land. Why? Because he served a God of promises, the promises that were made to his forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And yet Moses, generations later, is the one to see the fulfillment of the prophecy of the promise. You know, we serve a God of promises, and even in the midst of 2022, and as we look at the news and so many things, it looks bleak, and we wonder what is happening, but we got to hold on to the promises that God has given us as men. And I encourage you in doing that, no matter what age level you are at what stage you are in your life, it should always be in the back of your mind of how I'm going to finish, that you want to finish well. And the second thing that we can learn too from this scripture this morning is that God wanted Moses to know that his descendants would live in the land. Why was that important? Because Moses finished well, and because of the finish, his descendants, his people from where he came from, his bloodline, actually got to go into the promised land itself. So I want to encourage you today, men, that in finishing well is a progression of life. It's day by day. It's staying in the battle. It's staying in the fight. So I encourage you, as you start 2022, how do you want to finish? It should always be in the back of your mind to finish well, to serve the Lord, keep his commands, and love people. It's pretty simple when you think about it, but it's a challenge in all of itself. So I believe this in 2022. I think 2022 men, we're in for an unbelievable ride like we've never seen before. But in that, we hold true to the promise. What the promise is, if we stay the course and stay the faith, we will finish well. We'll be ready for moments when we are called to stand, and we can trust God in those moments. But you got to have it in the back of your mind. How do you want to finish? Vital men, finish well. We'll see you next week.